our viewers of Entrepreneurship Couch. We are today on this show with Virginia Sibanda. She is the MD of Vale Microfinance. She is here with us to share a entrepreneurship journey. Virginia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shepherd. It's good to be here.
Okay. To our viewers, Virginia has been in the industry. She has got a background to do with banking, and she's going to share with us how she started to run her own company. But besides that, she has got vast experience in terms of banking, and we have decided a lot of our viewers would actually benefit from her experience. So apart from this particular show, she's also going to come back this time sharing with us some of the lessons she has learned during a period in the banking sector. Virginia, once again, I have got to welcome you back.
I much appreciate that, Shepherd.
Okay. Virginia, we try to inspire and motivate a lot of entrepreneurs, and we thought you have got the experience and the exposure in running your own entity. We just want you to share with our viewers in terms of where and how did your entrepreneurship journey start?
Yeah, so that's a very good starting point. So I started my entrepreneurship journey 10 years ago, but prior to that, I was working in a corporate structure. So during that time, obviously, I think I learned a bit about how a business could be run, and that made me think about how I could be running my own business from the knowledge that I had got from being in a corporate structure. So 10 years ago, and I was 45 at that time, so it's never too late.
Sure.
I started my own company, but it was mostly related to what I'd been doing in the corporate structure. I started a microfinance organization, which was targeting people in rural areas, smallholder farmers, women and youth. I was particularly interested in that group because of the experiences that I faced when I was growing up. I grew up with a grandmother who used to make some items, sewing some items from materials that would have been discarded by other people. And I always thought, if she had somebody to support her financially, would she not been able to run a big business? But somehow she just managed it day in, day out, doing the best that she could. So I think I should say that I was influenced about starting this business well when I was very young, but it never occurred to me. But I think that influence came from that story.
Virginia, thanks very much for that background. Virginia, there's been a raging debate in terms of are entrepreneurs born or they are made? And let me put this into context. You happen to have been working for one of the well-known, reputable financial institutions. And for me, you had your career path well laid for you. Coming back to my question, do you think entrepreneurs are born or they are made?
That's very interesting. My take to that, and this is a personal opinion, is that what birth are we talking about? Because if it's a birth of necessity, definitely entrepreneurs are born. Why am I saying that? Most entrepreneurs are born because they want to provide a service. They've thought about it, they understand what problem they want to solve, they understand the solution that they will proffer, and therefore in that process, an entrepreneur is born. So in terms of tenacity now, it now depends on your belief system. Do you really believe in what you're trying to do? And how do you learn from others to become a better entrepreneur? So in my view, I've always argued, are people talking about the natural birth of an entrepreneur, or are we talking about some other forms of birthing? Yes, there are some people who are born in families where they're entrepreneurs, right? And they automatically want to be entrepreneurs. But others, they decide that I want to be an entrepreneur because of a certain reason. Like in my case, after working in a bank for a long time, I decided, you know what the bank is doing in terms of working with with people that do not have security is not what I feel should be happening, because these people, they can be given better chances. I just needed to create a different way of lending to these people. So then I was born as an entrepreneur at 45 years old.
Virginia, you have earlier on said to us you got into that for certain specific reasons, but I want to probe you further. Why did you get into this particular type of business, and why deciding to run your own business instead of working?
Okay. So for me, like I said, it's something that goes way back. Even when I was in a corporate structure, I was fascinated by small businesses. I was never interested in corporate borrowers because they knew what they wanted. They were making the demands. All banks were sort of making a beeline to help them. So for me, I thought more people are really small entrepreneurs, those people who have got good ideas, but no one is listening to them. So I felt very convicted personally that these people, they needed somebody who can understand what their needs are, provide financial services that speaks to their need, rather than what normally happens in a bank. I just want security. If I don't have security, I'm not listening to your story. So for me, that has always informed me that there's a better way of handling people who are economic active but cannot have access to finance, because access to finance is a catalyst. You might have all the ideas, you might have all the education, but if you do not have access to finance, your dream will take a long time to come through. So access to finance can be through formal borrowing structures like microfinance institutions or banks, or it could be through friends. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is that financial resource is required for somebody to follow through their business dream.
Normally, I ask this particular question to do with seed capital when it is related to your own business. But because of your background, allow me to ask you this question and talk to us in terms of your previous interactions. How did you solve the issue to do with seed capital in your business, and how can other people address the issue to do with seed capital?
That's a very good question. So for me, the seed capital issue is a very important part because the most important thing is you have to have meat in the game, right? So if you want to start a business, it's very important to show on your own what it is you want to put into the business, to show your belief in the business itself. So for me, a seed capital can come from various ways. Sell excess things that you don't need. We have got a lot of things. It's amazing how many things that we accumulate that we think we need, but we don't need. So if you want to do business, get rid of some of those things to create your own seed capital. Even if you are approaching family and friends, you have to show them that this is what I have put together. Can you help me? You can't just go to people and say, may you please give me money to start my business? I've got a good idea. It doesn't work like that. So seed capital allows you to prove the concept to some extent. Therefore, when you speak to people, you've got something that you are talking to which is already there. But most people, it's an idea. Ideas are very difficult to finance. However, let's take, for example, a woman who is doing poultry. If she says, I've been raising 50 chickens on my own, now I want to raise them to 500, we are talking. But if she just comes and say, oh, I just want to have 500 chicken, have you done it before? No. How do you know it's going to work? I'm going to try with your money. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So seed capital from the entrepreneur themselves is very, very important. And this brings in another dynamic to say, if I'm young, Mrs. Sibanda, where do you expect for me to get this seed capital? All right? So some of these questions we will never be able to actually answer them. But what is critical is that seed capital, your commitment is very, very, very important. You can even say, I only have $100. Don't be shy to say, I've raised something, at least how can you help me to achieve my dream? But you can't speak to someone and say, I've got nothing, please help me.
Virginia, I would also want you to call back on your experience and exposure. Now seed capital has been there. Business is now running. There comes another challenge. Working capital. Sometimes it's not sufficient. It's not adequate. How does one go about raising working capital?
Yeah, that's the issue now. So when you started with your seed capital, right, it's either that seed capital will make you start the business and put it to a certain level where you can show somebody that I need more money to be able to increase my orders, to be able to grow my business, depending what business you are in. You are now showing someone that I've done this before at a small scale, but now I want to increase it. This is where you now have to sit down. You don't have to come up with a very fancy proposal. You don't have to go to a consultant. You understand what you want to do. So you sit down and understand, okay, what expenses are you likely to meet in the next 3 to 6 months? What has been your record in raising your sales yourself in the past, whatever work you've done? And then you say, okay, what is the gap that you are now facing between the expenses that you need to run the business and the income that you are generating? And this is what the gap that you want somebody to fill in through maybe a bank loan, through family loan, through a bank overdraft. And this is how you make those decisions to say, okay, I need to understand where do I want to take the business. When you're running a business, it doesn't matter how small it is, you have to sit down and plan. You need to do a financial plan which determines exactly how much money you need in the business. And then you also need to really sit down and say, how am I going to make this money? Because it doesn't matter how good your business plan is. If you are not generating those sales, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to generate the income to be able to repay the loan, or if you don't want to borrow, the income to meet your running expenses.
Virginia, I am going to go off script because of your experience. I am actually enjoying the show. Now, before I can come back to our particular discussion, you have raised the issue to do with working capital. In Zimbabwe at the moment, and from your own exposure, do we have available opportunities and vehicles through which we can raise working capital?
For small business, so I need to split this. So I'm thinking I'm talking to an audience where probably these are small businesses.
Sure.
Right? So you'll find that with small businesses, their channels to access funding can be constrained naturally because most of them are startups, and most of them structurally in Zimbabwe, people do not really fund for cash flow. Like to say your business, this is what is going to generate. Most of the time they'll say, what security do you have? Right? And that takes away a lot of small businesses out of the picture to actually get financial assistance. However, having said that, this is why there are a number of microfinance institutions that have come onto the market. They've realized that there are other ways and means to lend to small businesses where they are not targeting your house, that I want to have your house as security collateral before I can give you a loan. They will look at other things. They look at your character. They look at what other movable assets that you might have. They look at your project itself. That is why it's very, very important to have proved the concept before you approach someone, because they then want to have that understanding that this project can generate enough income, cover its cost, including the loan repayment that they are being assisted with. So a lot will depend on where the business is. I must admit, though, that access to finance for startup operations is a difficult ask for most organizations in Zimbabwe. We do not have venture capital in Zimbabwe. Most of it is just a bank or a microfinance. They are not willing to take a long-term view to work together with an entrepreneur so that they build the business together and have an exit strategy. So you'll find that most of the access to fund the finance that we have is through your bank loan, your bank overdraft, or you're approaching a microfinance institution, or if you are ladies, there is what is called Mukando. I don't know how familiar most of the people on the platform are with Mukando. These are a group of people with same interests. They come together and put money every month, and they borrow from their own pot, and one person will then start their business. They don't come together so that they buy groceries and then share at the end of the year, but they come together, they put money together for them to borrow from each other so that they can build their businesses. So those are some of the informal ways that individuals that are having difficulties in accessing finance, they can use to try to raise funding. For those businesses that are a bit more structured and they are more formalized, obviously commercial banks are there to offer these loans. But again, with the Zimbabwe environment, everything is changing, everything is shifting a lot. The financial institutions themselves, trust me, they are also struggling to get their own working capital. Sometimes people just look at it and say, oh, okay, but you are a bank, why don't you just give me money? But in some instances, the banks themselves, they are also having a lot of challenges in terms of raising capital. And then I come down to microfinance institutions. You'll find that most microfinance institutions in Zimbabwe are owner managed, right? So it's not, and they are not deposit taking. So it's not like they do have a big pocket of funding to be able to give up loans. The demand for loans will always outstrip the supply, in my experience.
Virginia, thanks very much for that. Now I've got to come back to your business. It's always very interesting for us to be talking about real practical examples. We cannot talk about entrepreneurship without looking at employment creation and empowerment. How does your own business speak to employment creation and empowerment?
Thank you very much, Shepherd, for that. So I'll tell you a bit of a story to answer your question.
Sure.
Like I said, I started the business in 2010 with $5,000 as my initial capital, right? And over the years, I've managed to employ 56 individuals, most of them below 30, and they are graduates. And 50% of them women, because I'm very particular about giving equal opportunities to everyone. And we managed that business very, very well up to a point in 2019 when everything went in a different trajectory. Unfortunately, despite my wish to employ more people, we actually had to cut down on staff members, close some branches, because at that time we had about 11 branches and we had to cut them down to 6 branches. So the reason why I'm sharing with this is, while yes, the focus is really employment creation, we want to have more branches, but one has also, as an entrepreneur, you have to face the reality that sometimes you don't always get your wish. You have to be very pragmatic at any given time so that your business is sustainable. So it's very good to say, yeah, I employ a lot of people, but if your business is hemorrhaging, you cannot continue that way. So I just wanted to bring in that angle that yes, we are very pro job creation. We want to provide opportunities for the young Zimbabweans that are coming out of colleges, but as a business, you have to do it within certain confinements so that your business is sustainable.
Virginia, let's look at the vision board. 5 to 10 years from now, where do you see your own business going?
I love vision boards, and I also hate vision boards. Why? Because I've been making this. Because I'll take you back. When I started the business, and I wrote a 15-year plan. Like, I am a very organized person. I would rather believe that I am. I had a 15-year business plan, right? And everybody was saying, but are you crazy? How can you plan for 15 years? But my mind works better if I have got a long-term, short, medium, and long-term plan. So I saw myself reaching out to 10,000 clients, having 20 branches, employing 100 people. So I had that vision board. And somewhere between 2017 and 2018 up to 2019, we sort of were angling towards that. And now, fast forward to now, it's like I'm starting the business all over again. From a client base of 10,000 people, we are down to 2,500 people, right? Not because of anything, but just the economic dynamics. Mm-hmm. We don't use that as an excuse because life things happen, sure. Right? Your job as an entrepreneur is to pivot, to reconfigure yourself and start all over again with a new vision board. Mm-hmm. So in this case, my vision board is to say all things being equal, right? I still want to go back and reach out to about 15,000 people, right? Have branches in all 10 provinces of Zimbabwe, at least a branch in all the 10 provinces of Zimbabwe, and continue to do what we are doing with rural community farmers because they do amazing things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Virginia, I've been talking to a number of entrepreneurs, and I'm grateful that finally women entrepreneurs have started coming on board to tell their stories. I would want to hear your own story in terms of particular challenges that you have faced as a woman entrepreneur. What have been the challenges?
Thank you very much. I'm one of those very different people in the sense that I don't want to be defined as a woman. First and foremost, I want to be defined as an entrepreneur, right? The fact that I'm a woman should not define me, right? And those people that know me is that, yes, I know that there are challenges, but I think if you have the right vision and you understand what you need to do, there are always ways. It's harder. That much I must appreciate. Being a woman, it's harder because one, you want to keep your home as well. Sure. You've got children that you look after, but at the same time, you move into this businesswoman who has to be making deals, and the space is still very open for men because men, they tend to sort of to understand each other better. They will go to the golf course, and most deals are still done at the golf course. And imagine me telling my husband that, you know what, I'm going to play golf today to discuss business. It doesn't work like that. So I do not want to underestimate the difficulties that women face in being in business. And one that I can actually tell you, one is when I want to go and look for funding, I'm told, okay, I want collateral. But the very idea of me going back to my husband and say, you know what, sweetheart, let's mortgage our house so that I can borrow money, so that I can go and give people in rural areas loans. But if it was my husband, you probably take the house, mortgage it, and then tell me that this is what has happened, right? That is life, right? But at the end of the day, I just want to reach out to other women out there to say, you know what, we are not victims, right? We want to look at ourselves as if, yes, the challenges are there, but we want to move away from the stereotype and just say, I am an entrepreneur. I want to go and approach a commercial bank and tell them about their business. I don't want them to look at me, it's a woman, therefore I should be looked at differently. This is why probably we're not moving ahead. Because people then look at us and say, okay, when I'm talking to a woman, my approach is going to be different. They must understand that they're talking to entrepreneurs as well. And like I said, I want to repeat, I'm not demeaning the challenges that as women we face. We do face a lot of them. But I think I want us to just look ahead and say, you know what? We are just as good as anyone else. I started this business in a male-dominated industry. In 10 years of this, it has shown me a lot of ways that sometimes I feel like that I am being prejudiced that because I'm a woman, but I don't want to dwell on it. I want to dwell on the positives that as a woman, I do things much better than men. I understand my clients much better than men. Therefore, I should be able to build a better business than men. So that's how my approach is. It can be debatable, but that's just how it is with me.
You have worked in a very big financial institution, your background. Now you are also working in the very same sector of microfinance. you have related and interacted with a lot of SMEs. What are some of the challenges that are particular to the SMEs sector that you may want to share with us?
Yeah, that's a real good question. So I will look at it from this point of view, where that most SMEs, they will have a very good idea, right? And they are even implementing it very, very well. But access to finance to scale up their operations has always been a problem for most entrepreneurs. I see it even in my office that we have let go some customers, not because they are not good enough, but we are limited in the number of customers we can handle at any given time. So the issue of access to finance is a very, very difficult issue for most SMEs to deal with. However, having said that, I also feel that some of the challenges that SMEs might have is they don't look at long-term views. Like some of them will just say, oh, what is making money right now, right? And therefore, it's very opportunistic. And then when that happens and that opportunity is gone, they don't have the ability to say, okay, how do we reconfigure our business so that we can remain relevant on what's happening in the business and continue to be sustainable as a business. So again, I think just like all these big businesses that we now refer to, they started as small businesses as well. Therefore, it is up to us as entrepreneurs to be very forward-looking in terms of what it is that we want to achieve. And when we are faced with any challenge, how do we address that challenge? Because we will always have challenges as small businesses, right? And then the managing of cash flows in terms of if I'm running my own small business myself, right? The income is profit, right? So I want to send my child to the most expensive school. I have to have the best furniture. Everything, my car has got to be the best car because I run a business, right? I've got this pressure because I run a business. And I think if most of us maybe pause to say, okay, what is the critical part? I have to strengthen the business. Everything that I'm getting, it has to go back to the business, scale up the business, and I will enjoy the fruits of the business in future while taking a good return through a salary from the business, not going into the till every day to say, oh, today I want this. Just give me, how much money do we have today? Can I please have money for this and that? I think we need to be disciplined also as small businesses in terms of what do you take out of your business and what do you retain in the business.
Mm-hmm. Virginia, I know we are going to benefit more in the next session we are going to have with you when you tend to share with us some of the challenges that a lot of SMEs face. We cannot close this show without giving you an opportunity to talk to us about the impact of COVID-19. How has it affected your business?
Yeah, so we always talk about microfinance and we think all our audience will understand what we do, right? So maybe let me go back a bit and rewind and sort of just quickly speak about what we do. Our business is we give small loans to individuals who are doing businesses, but our main focus is people who are in agriculture, people in rural areas, any small businesses around that are operating their businesses. So therefore, with COVID-19, guess who was affected more? Is the informal sector. So our ability to reach out to our clients was highly compromised because of the lockdown. And it was very, very difficult for us as a business to figure out because we are not yet high tech. We are very high touch. We go to communities. We want to understand what's happening with family members, with families, before we even give them a loan. Therefore, with this lockdown, this really affected our ability to interact with our customers. Yes, we tried to send messages, we tried to call them, but we all know the story of how expensive that approach is as well. So it has been very, very difficult for us as a business, but more importantly for our customers, because they are the ones who depend on going out there every day to do something to generate income. So the idea of being locked down, although it is the right thing to do and not generate any income on a daily basis, will have maybe very long lasting impacts on them. And we feel very much for them. And from a business point of view, obviously, we are worried about the rate of loan repayments, given that most of our customers might have been affected. Some markets were affected. I'm sure most of you saw some markets where they were banning horticultural produce. Those are some of our customers, eh? So we feel very, sad about the whole situation, but we understand why the lockdown had to happen. So going forward, the idea is to say, how do we plan with our customers to understand how do we move forward, given what we've all gone through. It's very traumatic, as a matter of fact. But again, we need to go back to the drawing board, understand each client, and see what solutions we can provide. On our side, we also have our lenders who I'm sure they'll be thinking, okay, what's going on? So it's an ecosystem that we all have to sit down and understand what needs to be done. Because if we have knee-jerk reactions, we might not be able to come out of this situation. So my appeal obviously will be that for everybody who's been affected to really go to the drawing board, understand each and every client, and come up with a solution for each client.
I would have said, let's focus and try to inspire and motivate the woman entrepreneur in the last words. But we have agreed you don't want me to focus on women entrepreneurs. Now,
no, we can. It's okay. We can inspire women. Women are brilliant, so we can inspire them all the time. I just wanted us to change that narrative a lot, right?
I understand.
But there's no harm. Yeah, there's no harm in inspiring women, because women are resilient. They can take anything. They rise. They take on challenges. So most of my very, very good customers are women, right? And because I understand them, I understand their pain points, I understand how difficult it is for a woman to try to be in business and at the same time be a woman. So yeah, women, continue doing what you do.
Yes.
You are wonderful. So when I say that we want to change the narrative, it doesn't take away that we have to praise things for each other. We need to encourage each other. We need to form our own associations as women to encourage each other when things go wrong. We just need someone to talk to as women.
Virginia, thanks very much for the time that you have afforded us to come and talk to us. We are very grateful that you have found time to come and discuss with us in terms of your own journey. And we hope in our next engagement, you will have more that you can share, such that we end up shortening the learning curve and we end up having more entrepreneurs joining on and making sure that we grow the economy. Thank you very much for your time, Virginia.
Thank you very much, Shepherd. And to your viewers, thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.